Hey y'all, Kevin Hutchison here with Realty Austin, and I am grateful to be a part of Stories Inside the Man Cave, a homegrown podcast just like my own business.
Well, two of the most beautiful people in Travis County, that being HardballHardge and the Jeff Barker, KEYE, CBS Austin, all these, media outlets changing their names for marketing. But Hardge and I, man, thanks, JB. This is a long time coming, overdue. And just like Danny Davis, as we briefly lost Hardge, man, I apologize it's taking this long.
Oh, no worries. Happy to be on the pod, Clinchy.
Man, anytime for you, man. It's Bob's been on it. We've had others, but it's just not complete without the CBS Austin duo. And Anthony Geronimo, he's been on it.
He would have some good man cave stories.
Oh my God. And we got Hardge back. The guy is a relentless worker. The guy's got the work ethic of, I don't know how I can compare it, but it's incomparable.
Is that?
Yeah. I had to dip out because you sounded like you were eating rocks. So I was like, let me leave real quick and come back in because you sounded a little growler. So I decided to clear it up. You're good now. You're good now.
The heat and the Austin pollen. That's what it is, or whatever's in the air. Oh my God. Hey, before we dive in it, Hardge, man, we've had a lot of moments with Jeff Barker throughout the years. I mean, what do you know what can you tell the fine people about Jeff Barker other than the CBS Austin talent that he is?
Well, he's a huge Dodger fan. Huge Dodger
nice
fan.
Wiener.
Yeah, he's got a nice wiener today. And kind of appropriate for the man cave. But one of the things that I remember about Jeff and the very, very first time of us ever really, really hanging out was him talking to me about baseball. And I don't think he knew my background at the time, and I don't think he really knew everything about Mike Hardge at the time. But we had a conversation about baseball where I was like, this dude loves freaking baseball, and he knows everything about his Dodgers. So it was kind of funny to me that we had this conversation without even really knowing each other's background. And I was like, I think I could kick it with this guy.
It
From
was
the
probably
very first conversation. Huh?
It was probably me just venting about the Dodgers to you.
It definitely was. It definitely was about the Dodgers. And you were very frustrated at the time, but look at that, man. You go out there, you win your World Series, you've had a lot of success, and now you're walking around with a wiener on your shirt with no cares. With no cares.
Dog, baby.
Hey, that's what happens. You win one COVID title, and you start feeling yourself a little bit. Start feeling it.
Yeah. Hey, at least
well deserved.
The Dodgers had more sustainable success than the Cubs. Let's just say that.
No doubt about it.
That is one thing. As I've become a older, obviously, and just been rooting for the Dodgers longer, watching what some of my other friends, their teams they root for. It's like, if nothing else, they got that one title. I can chill out now, and I can finally just be grateful that they're good every single year. I mean, I can't remember a year in my life when I can remember being a sports fan that I was like, turn off the Dodgers this year. Not worth watching.
Oh.
It's always been decent, at least.
They've got a great system. And a lot of those guys, they run through Oklahoma City. They're not just, hey, we're going to sign free agents. They got sustainable program success in that system. Hey, camp, #hook 'em in August. This is installment 2 of 4. Had Danny Davis on with the Austin American Statesman for installment number 1. Of course, our guy, Kevin Hutchison, Big Hutch, man, just rolling in the real estate dough, if you will. And I think we chose the wrong profession because, if I want, when I grow up, I want to be like Kevin Hutchison. He's your guy from Waco now to San Antonio. He'll take care of you. So to dive into the Longhorns football camp, Hardge and Barker, I know Barker, you're there a lot. Hardge is there somewhat. Let's go with Barker's impressions of the broader perspective of the Longhorns so far. After it's been a little over a week, I think, since camp started.
Yeah, I think they were off yesterday, so I think they've had about 6-7 practices in the books now. I mean, from what we get to see, which is, small windows of practice where we're not really getting to see the scrimmages and watch all of that stuff and every, pass. So a lot of it's routes on air and the defense is on the other side of the field. But I think what stands out to me is what stood out at the beginning of spring ball as well. And just as this roster sort of came together during the off season, man, they are silly stacked at the skill positions.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can see that just like wide receivers. I mean, we know about running back. We know about Bijan. We've talked about him a bunch. We know what Roschon can do. Sark even said the other day he thinks Roschon looks faster.
Wow.
Which with that size and the way he runs, I mean, that's going to be huge for that room. And then obviously Keelan Robinson can be a gadget guy, 4 or 5 touches a game, rocket ship type dude if, he gets in the open field. But, man, that receiver room, I know we're going to talk about Xavier Worthy in a minute, Jordan Whittington, but Isaiah Neyor, his size and what he brings as that kind of big body, physical receiver, downfield jump ball threat, red zone threat too, he's going to be really intriguing to watch. So I think that's what stood out to me is just like, oh, man, these guys are stacked at the skill positions. I think those are your 3 that are really going to stick out at receiver. And then a bunch of guys that, who knows, somebody will come out of nowhere and make a name for themselves this season too, just kind of like Worthy did last year.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about that too. And I'm glad you touched on the wide receiver group because, you sit and you look at where Texas was last year. And I was going through a bunch of the names from last year. And there was a lot of guys that you were like, I didn't realize that guy was even on the team. Well, now I heard Sark in the middle of the presser the other day talk about we have 16 wide receivers on our depth chart. And it's like, what? Like, and not only that, they're all vying for a spot in playing time. You sit there and you look at it, one of the biggest names that he talked about the entire offseason was Brennan Thompson and his speed. You didn't even mention him during this, and then you look at Ajay Hall coming in from Alabama and Tariq Milton and guys that have actual skins on the wall with playing time, and then you're bringing in all this youth. And the biggest conversation piece that I keep taking away from what Sark has been saying this entire time, a lot of it is he keeps the guys in motion. He keeps them moving, and he wants them to be able to catch the ball, not with a stop route, not with a hook route. He wants them moving with the constant crossing and the streaks and the posts, because if these guys are that fast, they can't – if you hit them in stride, they're not going to get caught. And that's the biggest thing that I continue to take away from the conversations about the wide receiver. I love your point about Neyor and how big he is and how fast he is, and he's going to bring a lot of toughness to it. But one of the other guys that we hadn't even talked about, and he's one of the ones that we knock on wood every time we mention his name, is Jordan Whittington. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be right there in that mix with all that talent as well. Because to me, he's a guy that we will definitely see play on Sunday, but he needs to make sure that he stays healthy, and he seems to be healthier than he's ever been.
And also Troy O'Meara, guys. I mean, if he can stay healthy.
Yep.
I mean, he's seen the flashes in camp, plural.
Yep.
You feel for a guy like that because he just can't stay healthy. But the guy that I know the entire nation is aware of in college, people who follow college football, and that's the X-Man, Xavier Worthy. And obviously All-American season last year as a freshman, next level type guy. I want to play the soundbite that Barker and KEYE received. I know it was in a press conference setting, but there's video of Xavier. I think what stands out to me was his play against Oklahoma. But this is that soundbite that really, I think people need to really realize it's not just talent. The guy's work ethic is sick.
For example, we track our catapult numbers, from how much yardage a guy runs, high velocity yardage, explosive movements, all those things, top end speed. We've got, I think, 18 receivers in camp right now. He was at the top of every one of them. So a guy like him could come in and think, oh, I can just get myself ready to go play. He came to work from day one, and he's been working at a high level. He's playing really well. And I think that he and Jordan Whittington really set the tone in that receiver room for what it takes from a work ethic standpoint, and not only physically but mentally. They both sit in the front row. They both take notes every installation. And for them, this installation is the sixth time around. They've got a really good understanding of our offense, and we're still in day 5 install, which is kind of foundation training. They're still in the front taking notes. They still ask questions, and again, I think they set the tone for what it should look like for the rest of the guys.
So, fellas, start with you, Barker. Is this something that shocked you? Because, oh my God, I've got to point this out. I know it's a fixture on the wall, but it looks like a curly mullet.
What?
You have a curly mullet with a fixture on the wall. So were you surprised by that? Because I mean, obviously we're not there around the guy, but is he, just adding to how special of a talent he is, Xavier Worthy, you've got to work to reach a certain level. But what did you think when Sark revealed that?
I wasn't necessarily surprised because Sark had said some of that last year. And I don't think if a guy does that his freshman year, when he explodes onto the scene, that it just kind of goes away. But I think when you hear it and you hear how genuine Sark really meant what he said about that, he's not just saying that as like, I kind of got to say this about my guy because I know this press conference is going to go here and everyone's going to listen to it and whatnot. Like he really means it. And I think big picture, that sets the tone for, whether they go 7-5 this year or they go 11-1 in the regular season. It sets the tone moving forward for guys that are new in this program to say, hey, this guy broke freshman records last year. He easily could be in fall camp going, I know this offense. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. The fact that, the thing that stood out to me was less about maybe his work ethic on the field and more about, Whittington and Worthy taking notes in the room, asking questions in the room. That's stuff that you love to hear if you're a Texas fan, because those are the kind of things that help build the foundation for the culture, and you build blocks like that. Like I said, like a freshman receiver, like, Whittington talked about Savion Red. So he comes in. Now he looks at it and goes, Worthy's got skins on the wall. Whittington's got skins on the wall. They're doing this. I definitely have to do this now. Versus the opposite of if you have somebody that's kind of just like, I'm going to coast in and, load management or whatever in training camp. Like, he's not doing any of that. That dude's just a gamer.
Yeah, and I'll back up what Barker was saying. When you're that type of player and you get an opportunity to get better and you know that this is another step to your ultimate goal, and that's being great, number one, but also getting to the next level in the NFL, you can't take time off. Your effort, like he said, it permeates throughout the locker room. It permeates through all of the players that are around you. And it's setting Texas up to have a great receiver room. You heard it again during that cut right there. There's a lot of competition. And if you sit back and think that you got it figured out because of what you done, no, they're bringing in talented guys. And iron sharpens iron, and I think that's what's happening in that room. And I know we can sit here and, goo goo gaga, be all excited about everything. We still have to see it on the field. But for someone like him who's put it out there, who we've seen the tape, and for him to come in and still have that work, and I'll end with this. Barker said it perfectly. You can hear the sincerity with what Coach Sark was saying about, I'm not just blowing smoke. This dude is putting work in, and it's going to be hell for everybody else in this conference and in that locker room to try to take that position from him.
I had a story that I heard, and I have no idea if it's true, but if it is, this adds another layer to the type of not only player but team guy that Xavier Worthy is, that he confronted one of the freshmen in a dorm room, testing him to see how committed the said freshman truly is to the team, the buy-in, so to speak. Got into his face and really wanted to make sure that this guy was on board in a way that you know how player police teams are. Sometimes you got to test an individual's mettle. And apparently this happened, but I don't know if it's true. It may have been an exaggerated story, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. So that just adds another layer to the special talent that Xavier Worthy is.
And you need guys like that on teams. I mean, Hardge, you obviously played sports at a higher level than Clinch and I ever did, but Clinch and I played high school football and other sports like that too. Any good team, you need it to be player-led, and you need a few guys that can go and get in someone's face that needs to be put in their place, for lack of a better phrase, or needs to be, shown how to do something, shown how to work. This is how we do it on this team. And if you have guys like that, that's a great sign, especially for Sark when you're coming off 5-7 and you're really trying to build that culture. Like, you need a couple.
No doubt about it.
We hear that.
You need a couple guys that got some things loose up there that'll make sure that everybody is falling, quote unquote, in line and trying not to take away from the success that this team is trying to have. We've talked about the culture. We've talked about some of the things that happened prior to, and some teams were waiting for those other guys to leave, like couldn't wait for them to get out of there because they were bad seeds, so to speak. But now you got guys that are like, man, we went 5-7. Yeah. Let's not forget that. I don't need you coming in here not trying to work, because do you hear all the stuff that we got to go through every single day with fans, with other fan bases, with coaching staff? I mean, there's nothing for them to be walking around with their chest bowed out about, because they got to go put it back on the line starting against ULM in a couple weeks.
And that's I like how you said that, Hardge, because if there are diehard Longhorn fans who watch this or are watching this, I think that type of humility by these group of players are basically trying to, all right, we're telling the fans, listen, you have every reason not to believe in us. We are going to do our best to not revisit that type of season, because they hear the criticism. You guys all know that they're on Twitter. They see it, and some of the criticism is just. Some of it is not. Let's just face that. There's just angry people all over Twitter.
That's the truest thing that'll ever be said.
Preach, brother, preach.
Defensively, and with this version, we're going to pitch to a soundbite from Anthony Cook, and then there's going to be another soundbite after that Jeff has contributed. And because let's just face it, Anthony Cook, a defensive back, he's a better interview when you have him one-on-one. And we'll talk about this because I think this is a good subject to talk about. Should Texas fans, expect a better secondary? So Cook has moved to safety, and I want more valued opinions like Hardge and Barker than my knowledge, which is limited. This is Anthony right here.
Yeah, I think we've been doing a good job of adjusting to it. Like I said, we had the whole spring, the whole summer, and I guess some of the challenges would be whenever you play tighter, there's a possibility of getting beat deep. So we just trust in our technique and coaches, and we feel good about it.
I've definitely had to overcome some things, but I feel like it was necessary, to bring me to this specific point. I feel like something big is going to happen this year. I can feel it in my veins, man, and I'm extremely excited. I feel like all those things happen for a reason leading up to this point, and I'm blessed and excited to be a part of this team. The camaraderie. I say the camaraderie, and I say the leadership. Leadership kind of feels like the year we went to the Big 12. We got some great leaders. We got some guys who's not afraid, to come together, and I think that's a big thing. When you got a team who's together and you got great guys leading it, and no one's complaining about the culture, you're in a good place.
So he goes back. Of course, he's going to say he feels good about it. Confident guy, not lacking any confidence. So the secondary, I don't know how to describe it, but there were breakdowns in the secondary over the top, the home run plays. Barker, Hardge, why should Texas fans be optimistic that they will be improved as a secondary group?
I'll jump in. I mean, I think obviously year two in Pete Kwiatkowski's system, I mean, that's going to come with more continuity, hopefully. But with a guy like Anthony Cook, I mean, he's seen so much in this program, and that's kind of, what he's talked about quite a few times. And when I spoke to him out at one of these camps before fall camp started, he talked a lot about that of just the continuity and more buy-in. And he dealt with that with Tom Herman. I mean, he saw that too. He was part of that big class that was supposed to be the greatest DB haul in the history of recruiting and this and that, and it didn't work out. So, I think with leaders like that, and then, Jaron Thompson's back, who's supposedly supposed to be kind of his running mate at safety, that should help. And Sark talked a lot about the other day, he actually in length talked about this, how he likes taller, rangier kind of corners, because it's almost like when he said this, I was thinking of him talking about how he would defend his own offense. Cause he likes those quick completions. And like Hardge talked about, an easy completion with the guy on the run. It's more difficult to tackle that way. So I think that's what Sark likes, those is kind of to break up, for both sides, front line to break up some of those easy completions. And then also on the back end downfield, I specifically think about the OU game when Caleb Williams chucked that pass and OU was starting to get back in it, and they score a touchdown in that corner. Again, I don't know if any corner breaks that up, but maybe if you have a rangier guy, he does. You have a longer guy with bigger wingspan. So I think Sark's kind of bringing those guys in. Ryan Watts from Ohio State, a guy that, hopefully, I mean, not hopefully in this from size standpoint, he is 6'3", so he's got kind of that
good size
looking for. So yeah, maybe this is just in Pete Kwiatkowski's system, and then even Sark being an offensive guy, what he wants from his defense. Maybe this at safety is a better fit for Anthony Cook, and then you hope that you get guys like Ryan Watts to make big contributions, in the secondary at corner.
Well, one of the things that I continue to look at is the redirecting of the routes. Texas was giving up a lot of passes last year. You brought up the play against Oklahoma, but we could bring up play after play, week after week, where they weren't physical at the point of contact. That's the thing for me. If you go back and you look at the history of quote unquote DBU, the cornerbacks were always very physical at redirecting people off of their routes. They didn't do that. People were having free reigns. They were able to get off the line of scrimmage very easily and get to their spot. And Texas ended up paying for that. So when they were talking about playing tighter coverage, and if you've ever listened to us on Ball Don't Lie, Rod Babers, my co-host, he talks about that ad nauseum. But there's good and bad when it comes to that. The one thing that Anthony Cook said about playing tight defense, he said you got to kind of worry about the deep ball. Well, you can't think like that. You got to go out there, because the best thing about being a cornerback is that you forget. You got to let that go. Whatever happened prior to that, we're on to the next play. And so, there definitely will be some help over the top. I think we all see that. And that's why Sark, even with the offensive side of the ball, he talks about speed. Well, he talks about speed on the defensive side as well, because you got to be able to make plays. And if Texas were to make any type of adjustments, it has to be tackling. Let's not get it twisted.
100%.
Be able to tackle in the secondary. That Caleb Williams play, Anthony Cook, no, it wasn't Cook, it was Thompson. He was in the hole, and he missed the tackle, and then Williams broke that long run off. But he would have been tackled at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. So those are the types of things that I think that Texas needs to upgrade and make sure that that's what they're working on from start to finish.
I think of that OU game all the time. There's so many moments like that where you're like, if somebody makes one play, like just one play. Like even if they hold it, even if it only gets 18 yards on that play,
right.
So many little things like that, and then obviously it just spiraled from there. But yeah, that OU game is the one that I always go back to. Just like, it unfortunately kind of set the tone in the wrong way for what was going to happen the rest of the way with the defense.
Yeah, my theory or my take on this is that they will be better because they did hit rock bottom as a secondary. There were plays, but that OU game, my God. Yeah, and then now on a totally different subject, but we won't elaborate on it, is we find out more about, Casey. He's flourishing, Casey Thompson at quarterback, flourishing in Nebraska, that his hand was much worse than, or wrist, much worse than we all knew. But we can always reflect backwards, if especially tied to that OU game.
And I gained, not to go in too much into Casey, but I gained a ton of respect for him when I found out that he didn't say anything about that all year. He basically played the rest of it. There were so many moments where he could have been like, guys, thumb's messed up. What are you going to do? And he didn't do it. And honestly, he wasn't the one that put that out. There were some pictures that came out. He wasn't the one that put it out at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He's a good character guy. Great guy. We're going to have some fun, Hardge, with Barker. This is some random questions. Barker's takes on the Horns. I like this. And I want to remove Barker's takes in the lower left because we got to see Hardge.
No, you can take me out. You can take me out. Take me out. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Barker, and I can't wait to hear Hardge's response to Barker's responses, but who is the best soundbite / interview on the team this year?
Well, I know Coach Sark wouldn't like me saying this, but Moro Ojimo. But of somebody who we're actually going to get to talk to again in the season, I love talking to DeMarvion Overshone. He's got a great personality, tons of perspective. And it's kind of cool now that I've been here like 5 years to see these guys grow into themselves too and really open up. And a guy that's just, really well-spoken, really thoughtful. And you go down the line, Bijan's a great interview, especially from a coaching standpoint. Bijan's a great interview. He runs that line between being a really good program spokesman, but still kind of giving you some good sound bites that sound good and all that, and not pissing the coaches off.
I agree.
What do you think, Hardge?
No, I agree with you. Moro Ojimo is the one that I always want to talk to. I'm like, man, give me more mojo. I need some of that. But I agree with you on those sound bites because I think Jordan Whittington is pretty funny as well, and he'll give you some sound bites like the one that he gave the other day about the ice cream and how he's missing it. He's like gelato, and I thought that was pretty good, and it gives us a little bit more insight to some of these kids' personalities because you know how it is, man. You're around these kids all the time. They're being told not to say this, not to say that. But then they get those moments where I'm not going to say let their guard down, but they just feel like, all right, man, I'm going to say what I want to say at this time. So it's kind of fun. And I'm glad we got another chance to see that personality out of some of these kids.
Right. That's the biggest thing. I mean, Clinch and I have talked about this a bunch. Hardge, we've talked about this. We're not trying to get these guys to say anything controversial. I don't think anybody in the room at UT in the media is trying to do that. We want to learn more about these guys so that fans and readers, viewers, listeners can learn more about these guys. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to stir controversy.
Exactly. That's the last thing I want to do.
Right.
The media is the bad guy. The media is the devil.
No.
That's how we're, media's portrayed.
Some of y'all are.
Yeah, exactly. Some of you guys, man, got them. So the big human title to all those offensive linemen that Sark has brought in. Who's the most imposing of the big humans? And are the big humans, do we have to limit them to strictly linemen?
No on that, but I think the biggest big human of the linemen that we're talking about, or the most imposing one, and I feel like I've just heard his name the most, is Kelvin Banks, the 5-star. And really, it's true. And these linemen, and look, I'm like 5'10", like a buck 80. So anybody's gonna look big out there at O-line. But I really do think like Banks is one of those guys that stands out when I was out there. But another guy that I said this to some of the other media guys, I'm like, I don't know if this is the big human that Kyle Flood and Sark were talking about, but Malik Murphy is a massive human being at quarterback.
He is.
I mean, he's got Card and Ewers are about the same size. They're both 6'2", a little over 200. And Murphy is 6'5", about 230. And, man, he looks good out there.
So I ask you, and Hardge, Tyrone Swoops was a big quarterback.
But he wasn't he's not as athletic as Malik Murphy. Tyrone Swoops was a big dude, but he's not Malik Murphy big. Malik Murphy looks the part. He's one of those guys, if you're going to go from lineman to quarterback to wide receiver, because Troy O'Meary's a big guy. Troy O'Meary's a big looking dude. But those are the guys you want to get off the bus first. Those are the guys that when you're going into a town and they see that, they're like, holy cow, this is what we're going up against. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. That's where I'm at. I'm with you on that, Barker.
Yeah. That's a good take on Malik. And I hope – I can't wait. I hope there's a package for Malik Murphy. I really do. I can appreciate a good mullet. And so now in the Big 12, mullets are becoming more and more prevalent. But there's one prevalent one on the UT campus, that being Quinn Ewers, the quarterback. But I'm trying to figure out who has the better mullet, Quinn Ewers or Mike Gundy?
So I'm gonna give it to Quinn Ewers right now because Gundy kind of cut the mullet a little bit.
I'm disappointed in that.
I don't know what that's about, but Gundy's mullet in its heyday, just because of how thick and lush it was, I'm gonna have to go with Gundy overall. Ewers is, this is no offense, the look really works for him.
It does.
He's kind of got it's a little dirty. It's a little dirty. I got one shot when I was filming practice the other day, and he took his helmet off and he's squirting the Gatorade bottle and he kind of gave it like that. I can't do it. I just have regular hair, but I'm like, hey, if you got that, flaunt it. But it is funny because I look at Quinn Ewers and I'm like, if you did like a NCAA when the video game was there, if you did like a creative player, you were like, make me like the Texas Longhorns quarterback. Yeah, blonde mullet, little something on the upper lip there.
Yeah, I'm with Barker on this because his mullet looks a little bit like it's bleached as well.
Yes,
you got because there's the roots. You look at the roots; it's a little bit darker, so it's not a true. It's like you got that bleach blonde hair, man. I don't know if it's not true like Gundy's. Gundy's is true, and he let you know about it. Gundy was letting us know, yeah, man, I'm gonna grow this thing out. It's kind of like it. Winning ball games, we're doing things around here.
Hey,
so I'm rolling with Gundy the mullet.
I'm going with Gundy simply because the experience of the mullet. It has some it has a track record. Oh. Quinn, I love how Barker described it. It's a little dirty. He's riding dirty with it, but he's owning it.
Yeah.
So Quinn Ewers,
yeah, there's some sage wisdom in that Gundy mullet, but Texas hoping there's some bombs in the Ewers mullet.
Oh, you see Quinn throwing them bombs? You see them?
Hey, I love when I get to listen to the morning show on the Horn, Hardge, and your coworkers Bucky and Aaron. I love when Bucky will I feel like if I listen to that show for an hour, at least 4 times, he goes, "But you see Quinn throwing them bombs."
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah,
that's great.
Oh God. Hey, last, but this may be some really sage or important insight, but who is the best talent that nobody's talking about right now for the Longhorns?
I know this is kind of a cop-out because you guys did mention him earlier, but Brennan Thompson, just with that speed, and he looks like that little slot guy with tons of speed, and who knows what he's going to be able to do this year. And again, probably not the best answer because I know people have talked about him, but kind of a guy that it would, if he came in and scored a couple touchdowns, I think that would be under the radar, if you will. Yeah. So he's been kind of fun to watch on, again, I know it's routes on air when I see it, but some of those little patterns where they have him kind of just running that, kind of fade, that little streak, almost like a post across the field like that. I don't know exactly what they call it in their playbook, but that's going to be fun. I feel like he could connect with Quinn for some bombs on that one in the future.
Yeah, I like that too, but I'm going to stay in that same wide receiver room, and this is strictly because Jordan Whittington was talking about him, and then a couple other reports were coming out about him, and that's Savion Red. Mm-hmm. Savion Red is somebody that is turning heads in camp. And one of the things that I always try to make people truly understand is because coaches will give you their spiel, they've got their guys and all that stuff. But if you listen to the players talk, that will let you know everything about what's going on in that locker room.
Always.
The players know where the talent is. And when they see certain things and they're watching these guys every single day at practice and what they're up against and the challenges that they're going through, they will let you know who to pay attention to and who are the names. And Savion Red is somebody that I am definitely starting to put on my to-do list as far as watching him.
Jay Witt compared him to Deebo Samuel.
Right. Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he said he's kind of like my twin. So I'm like, so you
My
basically
twin, yeah.
Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, he definitely did do that. That's why it's kind of funny. I'm like, that's the healthy version, right? That's the healthy version, right?
Sneaky, but that was like a sneaky, like, self pat on the back there.
I loved it. I was like, okay, got to be confident. I love it.
So this is the best time usually, and I know these are not the episodes, the 2-segment episodes of the stories inside the Man Cave episodes, but Danny raised the bar last week with his Man Cave story. Very embarrassing for me, but I had to own it. It was the parking ticket episode at, I think I was the one who got it, and parking ticket representative, if you will. She was relentless and unforgiving for me.
And you were not pleased.
I don't know what happened that day, but that triggered me. I was none too pleased, but God, yes. So to the young lady, or how I hope you accept I apologize for that, but yes, I was not happy that day because that was a $30 ticket. But still, I didn't pay it, by the way.
I just hope she's been promoted to manager by now for putting up with you, Clinch.
Yeah, she is a saint, if you will. Barker, is there anything that you could share with Hardge and I about that would justify being a Man Cave story that you love telling that is as comical as when it happened?
Oh, that I could tell on the air? No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'll keep it to just like my time in Austin working with Bob and then Anthony when he was with us. I just think, and Clint, you know this from being on the road, those are some of the most fun times, man. We get to go on those bowl trips.
Ooh.
Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. I mean, can I even talk about that? I don't even know.
You can. This is
you can.
Yeah.
Please do.
Well, actually, there was one in Milwaukee when we went for the NCAA tournament, and I'm like kind of, don't pat myself on the back, just like Jay Witt did with that, Deebo Samuel comment there. So we go out on St. Patty's Day to Moe's Irish Pub. After everything was done, bosses, if you're listening, everything was finished, sent back. We were good. I got 8 hours of sleep. So we go to Moe's Irish Pub, have a good time. There's like Pop Shot in the back. Obviously, being St. Patty's Day, it's real crowded. Yeah. So we kind of just like we're around the Pop Shot deal, and I start getting shots up, and I hadn't played Pop Shot in forever, but I used to be pretty good. So I get within like 2 or 3 of the record, and we're like, all right, we got to go. But we go up and tell the guy at the bar about it, and he's like, if you come back and you break the record before your trip is over here, like I'll buy you like free round, free shots, all this stuff, like the rest of the night after you break it. So we finally, and thankfully Texas won that first game because I needed to buy a little time. So we come back one of the next days, and this is not as good as Danny's story, but I was really proud of myself. So we go over there and we get like Bob puts like a 20 and a 10 in the machine. We have like $30 in quarters, like walking around the bar. And finally on one of the last ones, I broke it by like 1 or 2. Go back to the bar, free drinks the rest of the night.
There, attaboy.
Nice.
God.
Nice. I dig that.
And then the rest of them, I'll tell you guys when we hang up.
Please do. Please. That's the edited version, and none of the editing took place on our end. That's funny right there. I think Hardge may be texting right now, but there he is.
I'm back.
There he is.
I got a call.
Oh, okay.
Hey, maybe Pop Shot will be my second career.
I think. Well, listen, it could be a side passion.
Yeah.
Labor of love. Pop Shot. Hey, we got to end on this. Tik Tokking in the Man Cave. This is edited a little bit, but we've got to share it. Let's just say this guy coined a new phrase, a name for himself, Farticus.
Jackpot.
But you don't.
Hello, welcome to my humble abode. Okay. I am Farticus. Oh.
All right, you get the gist of that. That's the level of intellect goes into production value on TikTok, and that's why it's highly addictive, but yet will lower our IQ pretty quick.
And that actually reminds me of another story. When I was a kid, we went on some trip. We went on some trip. I can't remember what it was called. It was some like organization, like father-son type deal. So we go to Catalina Island, which is off the coast somewhere over there in LA where I grew up.
It's the Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah. Well, this was somebody did get fired up like that. So we're probably like 9 or 10, and my dad, we were in these like cabins, and there were bunk beds. So it would be like, dad on bottom, like kid on top, and it was all father and son. But my dad got it in it with like another dad and his son, and he was like, hey, we're going to put it under this guy's bed. And when everybody goes to sleep, it was a fart machine. We're going to play the fart machine while he's supposed to be sleeping. So, and it had like, this one was like really good. It had different ones, like a long one, like, short one, quick one, loud one. So my dad starts playing it in the middle of the night and under this kid's bed, and his dad, I'm leaving names out on purpose here. His dad
Protecting
is like,
the innocent.
what are you doing? Just going off on him. And finally my dad was like, all right, dude, it's a fart machine. Chill. We're all a bunch of 10-year-olds just like cracking up. And it was funny to see the laughter like progress from like to just like everyone just cracking up.
Oh, not sleeping. Yeah.
So that's what Farticus makes me think of.
I love it.
I am Farticus. So installment number 2 of Camp Hook'em in August with the JB, Jeff Barker, and HardballHardge. So we learned defense is going to improve. Xavier Worthy is good at football at the receiver position. And we learned that we have an edited version of Barker's Man Cave story. And we learned that HardballHardge has really some good takes on everything. And so it's not just strictly baseball. If you guys haven't known, he's got a wide range.
Thank you, Sean.
Hey,
you're welcome. Thank you, Sean.
Ball Don't Lie, 3 to 7 p.m. weekdays, 104.9.
There you go. And in Houston, what is it? 104.9 The Jam. Is that what it's called?
Hey man, we ain't talking about Houston. We talking about here.
That's right.
And make sure you check out my man Jeff Barker. He cracks me up every single chance that he gets, even though sometimes he's not even trying to crack me up. My man's got a weenie on his chest. Do what you will with that.
There's your thumbnail, Clinch.
I love it.
There it is.
That's going to be the tease. The big old hot wiener on your chest with the in between the buns.
And now I gave away that it's a mirror that my girlfriend put up.
That's
right.
Did a great job.
Instead of your mullet.
That was a great wall mullet, by the way.
I know. I like.
Hey, Barker will be back with us for the 4th and final episode. That's in 2 weeks. He'll be on the left coast, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be back in LA that week. But
yeah, and
make time.
We got to try to align with Hardge's schedule, and then next week Danny Davis comes back. Both great storytellers. JB Hardge, and for the other OG Man Cave boys, that being Big Mike and Coach Mo, we are